Pelin, what is a lesson study cycle?
Lesson study cycle includes four basic steps. First of all, you need to set your goals. And to be able to do that, you need to specify students' needs. And second step is the planning process, where you plan your lessons and also decide on your data collection strategies. And then it is time for the implementation. And here, one of the group members teach the public lesson and others observe and collect the data. And then the final step is debriefing, where you analyze the data collected and also discuss student learning and finally share your results with others.
Hello Ayşe. Can you tell us how to plan a research lesson?
Sure. The first thing you should know is you are designing your research lesson by using backward design, and you're doing it collaboratively with other colleagues. And when it comes to steps, the first thing you should do is you have to decide on your objectives, your goals, and your aims also. And when you are done with them, you have to move on with the outcomes of your lesson. By considering your outcomes, you have to prepare your activities in the lesson, and in the meanwhile, you should keep something in mind, and this is you should always put the student learning at the center of the lesson. And also, I want to add that you should do your best to make students thinking visible. And the last thing I want to mention is the expert blind spot, and you should be really careful about it. What's it? Sometimes students may not comprehend or understand some basic and the simple concepts. But as teachers, we may overlook it, but we shouldn't. While we are designing our research lesson, we have to keep that in mind as experts, and we have to be careful about this situation.
Sena, can you tell me how to implement a research lesson?
Sure. And if you're at this stage, I assume that you have already been finished with the lesson plan, arranged the classes to be observed, and decided on the case students whose levels are the representative of high, low, and average in the class, and of course collected the consent forms. At the implementing phase, one or two members of the team will teach the public lesson, and the observers, in other words, other members of the team, will come to the class and observe the students and the lesson, and they will take notes for a deeper and closer observation. And of course, a video recorder is needed for sure. And after the lesson, we collect all the students' words regarding how they learned the lesson, what they did in the lesson. And the idea is not observing the perfect lesson. The idea is how students learn and how they develop their misconceptions. And most of the time, black box is used as a metaphor for referring to the student's mind. So we focus on the learning process itself, not the students or not the teachers. And thanks to lesson study, we gain access to the student's mind.
Hi, Feridun.
Hi.
Can you please tell us how a research lesson is observed?
Of course, I can say that firstly, the teacher, before starting the lesson, the teacher introduces the observers to the class, and the teacher tell what they will do in the class. And after that, the observers sit down near the case students, and then what can I say? In traditional classrooms, for example, the observations tend to focus on the teacher especially. However, in lesson study, the observations tend to focus on the students and what they do in the lesson and what are their reactions. We can say that. And also observers should have the lesson plan and also the handouts and the activity materials maybe. In this way, they can follow the lesson easily, and they can observe every details very quickly and easily. And yes, that's all I think.
Gökhan, can you please tell us what a case student is?
Sure. Before each research lesson, the instructor who will teach the lesson identifies some students according to the number of the observers, and these students are called case students. Later, each case student is assigned to one observer, and these observers observe these students throughout the research lesson. And after the research lesson, each case student is interviewed by the instructor. Jakub, could you please tell us how you make an interview after the research lesson?
Of course. First of all, you should prepare some post-lesson interview questions before the research lesson. And these questions can be like, what have you learned in this lesson? Or what did you learn? Or what did you enjoy most in this lesson? And so on. And just right after the research lesson, you ask these questions to the case students one by one. And if there are some other students who are willing to take part in the interview, you can ask these questions to them also. And lastly, you should not forget to record the interviews. That's basically how you make an interview after the research lesson.
Hi Pelin,
Hi.
can you please tell us how a research lesson is analyzed?
Sure. After the lesson, the research lesson, while it is still fresh in everybody's minds, team members hold a meeting to discuss and analyze the lesson. And it usually takes in two steps. The first is a debriefing meeting in which members discuss their observations, and the second is the meeting for analyzing the evidence and revising the lesson. Chisam, so can you tell me how you make a report out of the findings?
Sure. Actually, there are several ways to write a report from your findings, but we prefer to use a final report template from Bill Sorben's book. It has mainly three sections, namely the background, the lesson, and the study. The background includes title, authors, course description, and executive summary. The lesson has the sections of how to teach your lesson and what the student learning goals are. And finally, the study section has your approach, your findings, and your discussion part. And if there is any, you can add your appendix and also references. That's basically it.